Hi, sailors. We have enjoyed three famous poems this year: The Highwayman by Alfred Noyes, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost, and The Shortest Day by Susan Cooper. And today we're going to study The Hill We Climb. And it is a new poem by National Youth Poet Laureate Amanda Gorman, and it's gaining national attention because she just delivered this poem last month at the presidential inauguration. So today we're going to learn about Amanda Gorman. She's not much older than you are. She's only 22. And rather than doing like a ton of like critical thinking or essays or writing with this poem, I really just want you to appreciate and give you an invitation to notice some cool and some special things about it, and just really her message. So we actually get to watch her perform it as a poet when she did, and then you just have mostly a lot of highlighting and marking up of the poem as a way to respond and appreciate and notice great things she does. And so I invite you to find this document on Google Classroom. It's called The Hill We Climb by A. Gorman, and it's the only thing you'll need for this hour. So I will pause and allow you to locate that document. It has a little background about her, the poem itself, and a few little reflecting things. Okay, I will pause. Okay, so she's been covered by a lot of interviews recently and lately, and our magazine Scope that we subscribe to, that we've read from this year. Last week we did The Nothing and Climbing Skull Mountain from that magazine. They did a little background on her. So the first thing, if you click on this link, 8 Things to Know About Amanda Gorman, our code as always is Sailor Crew. It says that right there on your document. So let's take a look at 8 things that we should know about her. And as it loads, there she is, giving her dress in front of the world, a national stage to be able to speak on. 8 things we need to know about Amanda Gorman. So if you need to pause, to go ahead and do that. Otherwise, I will start right here. So January 20th, that's always Inauguration Day, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris were sworn into office. And at this inaugural ceremony, Amanda Gorman, only 22, recited a poem that she wrote called The Hill We Climb. Since then, a video of her powerful performance has gone viral. People all over the world have been talking about her inspiring message. It's a message of unity, of hope, and of change, because she's an activist. So here are 8 things to know about this inspiring young poet. First of all, at age 22, she's the youngest inaugural poet in American history. So it's kind of neat. Every time a president gets inaugurated, they invite a poet to come recite something that he or she has written. And I wonder why. Why do you think a poem is so powerful and appropriate? Why is that the choice for inauguration? And I think poetry, as we've studied, does something special. It paints pictures in the reader's mind. It has that lyrical quality of rhyming and rhythm. And it has this great, a great way to inspire and to celebrate a theme in an artistic way. So we've actually read from another poet who actually spoke at a presidential inauguration. This tradition of having a poet come speak at inauguration started with John F. Kennedy when he's inaugurated in 1961. And you know that poet. That poet is Robert Frost. So there he was, and John F. Kennedy asked him to recite a speech there. And so Amanda Gorman, she is the youngest person to do that, which is kind of cool. The second thing to know, which I think is so powerful and inspiring, is that she actually has a speech impediment. And this is something that she worked to overcome as a child. And it's still there, and there's a lot of great speakers that have dealt with that. And she didn't see it as like, I don't know, this is like a roadblock. She just overcame it. So that speech impediment that she has, it makes it hard for her to pronounce certain letters of the alphabet, like her R's. And as a kid, she began writing poetry as a way to find her voice and to practice. And then in high school, she started reciting her poetry out loud to really help her speech improve. And she says that singing songs from one of her favorite musicals, Hamilton, also really helped. And I know my crew has a lot of Hamilton fans in it. Another thing is her mom was an English teacher, an inspiring mom, and she really feels that her mom is a person of anyone who inspired her. And she also has a twin sister. The third thing is she did a lot of research before writing her inaugural poem, The Hill We Climb. She studied past leaders like Abraham Lincoln, because he had to bring a very divided nation together under his leadership. And she's thinking, all right, this inauguration, I'm trying to help bring a divided country together as we set into a new year. She studied Martin Luther King, and also she just looks at social media. I think that's kind of neat. And where a lot of people look at like images and video, she likes to comb through social media like Twitter, the news, other sources for just like text and words and phrases and what are people saying, what are people tweeting, what are people posting. And she uses all of that. And sometimes she creates like a big word collage on her desk, and that's kind of like her drawing board to be able to write. And a lot of singer-songwriters have done that kind of thing too. Taylor Swift did that. She was a big poet before she started writing her songs. Um, the fourth thing is that she was named the nation's first ever National Youth Poet Laureate. So we have a National Poet Laureate, and that just means you are the country's official poet. And you get to go around and you get to really celebrate appreciation for poetry. And you go into a lot of schools, libraries, and she loves to go talk about kids, about language, about reading, about literacy, which is really neat. She's the winner of that national competition, the first one, is starting to recognize, not just old people, but young poets, their message, what they have to say, and their talent. It's not just, okay, you can write a cool poem, but it also has to have some meaning, some social impact, and like inspire citizens to want to go do something. So when she won that, she had to recite her poem at the Library of Congress and other really special events. The last line of her famous poem, "The Hill We Climb," is getting a lot of acclaim. In fact, it's going up on the wall of our media center. I saw Mrs. Mann was working on that. "For there's always light, if only we are brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it." 5, she wrote a children's book, Change Sings, and that will be coming out this fall. And she's an activist. She's an activist for important issues like racism, gender equality. And she really believes poetry can be a tool for change, that your words, she actually said words can be weapons, words are art, words are instruments. And the big idea with our words is just make ideas known and then really felt, that they resonate. And I think that's so cool. And I think that's another reason that we choose poetry for inauguration, because words are powerful. They're instruments for change and for voice. She says poetry is typically the touchstone that we go back to when we have to remind ourselves of the history that we stand on, the future we stand on. And there she is. She's won a lot of awards. She's a recipient of several awards from Scholastic Art and Writing Awards. And if you check her out on YouTube, you'll see a lot of really cool performances. Her performing her poetry at concerts, at other national events. It's just really fun. So I'll put some links in the end of my Google Slides if you want to check out more of her work. And she wants to be president one day. She's already told 2036 she's going for it. She told the New York Times she's got a long-term plan of running for president. And it came from an idea, a conversation that she had with her teacher. So that's kind of cool. Okay, the next thing I want to share with you is an interview with Amanda Gorman from just a couple years ago. And this is when she was first named National Youth Poet Laureate. And so you get a little bit about her background, her inspiration, and who she is. And she was interviewed on the Today Show.
We're back with our special series, Breaking Through, today in honor of Black History Month.
Yeah, this morning, a spectacular young lady who's already accomplished so much. Jenna has her story. Hey, Jenna.
Hi, I love her. Amanda Gorman is the first Youth Poet Laureate in the U.S., using pen and paper to give a voice to social change.
Since I'm the first one, I get to set the precedent. What do I really want to see in the poetic realm in the United States? Yawning wide as the Pacific tide.
Amanda Gorman is the first ever Youth Poet Laureate in the U.S. What is it like to be a first?
It's intimidating, and I never really thought that I would be that person who's the first, because I remember when I was little reading about people, it doesn't get past me that not only am I the first Youth Poet Laureate, but at the same time I'm the first woman Youth Poet Laureate, I'm the first Black Youth Poet Laureate.
19-year-old Amanda was awarded the prestigious title last April at Gracie Mansion in New York City. A lot of your poetry focuses on social change, social justice. Where does that passion come from?
I think that passion comes from my heritage, comes from this place where, like, I must write, I must speak up, because there's been too many people who've been kept from that opportunity.
Who inspired you growing up?
My mother.
Amanda grew up in Los Angeles, and she attributes a lot of her success to her mom, Joan Wicks, a teacher who raised her and her twin sister as a single mother. Amanda's passion for poetry started in the 3rd grade. Talk to me about when you first knew you loved poetry.
I was around 7 or 8 years old, and my teacher, Shelley, had us reading Ray Bradbury's Dandelion Wine. I was like, oh my goodness, Bradbury just related candy to something completely different. That's what I want to do with my life. That's who I want to be.
I love that it was a metaphor. You were a
Yes.
third grader with a metaphor, and that's all
The
you needed.
metaphor hit home. It was like magic. Poetry has definitely been one of the most stable expressions for me of my identity and who I am. I love whenever I'm writing to have just all these books of people I look up to beside me. What I really like to do is choose like one word from each of like a collection of books I have, make like a word cloud and select them to make a new poem.
But public speaking didn't come naturally.
Heal or past, it will always be our future.
It took courage, determination, and grit for Amanda to get on stage. You spoken about having a speech impediment, and do you feel like in some ways that led you to poetry?
Oh, 100%. And a lot of times I talk about having a speech impediment and the difficulty of literally speaking up for myself. The voice I'm hearing aloud can't pronounce R's, it can't pronounce sh. It kind of sounds a bit garbled, but I hear this strong, self-assured voice when I'm reading this, simple text. And what that told me is the power of your inner voice over that which people might hear through their ears. The only thing that could impede me was myself.
Now a sophomore at Harvard, Amanda started One Pen, One Page, an organization inspiring other young writers to share their voices. So in a world that I think needs light constantly, and a world where social change is being talked about a lot, where does poetry come in?
Poetry is at the forefront of that, from the Declaration of Independence to Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. Poetry has always been the thread that is weaving throughout kind of the fabric of American and global history. I straddle black girls' tango between northern ebony blood of my pen against the cool flesh of my journal.
What is breaking through, breaking boundaries? What does that mean to you?
I think breaking through, especially in this day and age, is not only breaking through the door, but it's holding it open so that other people can come through. What we write an American lyric, we are just beginning to tell. Focus on your path, focus on your purpose, and how you, specifically and specially as yourself, can break through a barrier.
As Youth Poet Laureate, Amanda travels the country sharing her love for poetry, and she already has her calendar mark yours. Okay. She plans to run for president in 2036. 2036?
All right. So we're going to read her poem, The Hill We Climb. And as you read it, I want you to just highlight 5 to 7 words, phrases, lines that just kind of strike you, that are really important to you. So maybe it's a line, oh, this image, I see it. Or maybe you just really like how it sounds, alliteration or the rhyming she used, or the word choice. Maybe you like it just because of the message and it speaks to you and it kind of gives voice to something you've been hoping for or want to say about our country, or about America, or about who we are as people. So I'm going to stop my video and I just want you to go through the poem. You have options. You can do this work independently or you can partner read the poem. And then, so it'll take about 10 minutes for that, 5, 10. And then teachers, when you're ready, you can actually click on my next link on the agenda and you'll watch Amanda perform her poem at the inauguration. All right, I'll meet you back. Oh, so here's where you go. The poem is right here, and so just highlight 5 to 7 phrases that are really powerful to you.